Final ending of Not the Taste, Part 1 down below. Let's jump in this relationship. Lionel attempted to connect with Annabelle, who met him with silent scrutiny during an awkward meeting at a restaurant. "I heard from your mom that you're into basketball," Lionel offered with a tentative smile. Annabelle just stared back, causing Lionel's smile to falter. "Come on, Annabelle, say something," urged Carol, her patience wearing thin. "Something," Annabelle replied dryly, not missing a beat. "I was told I can't visit your place because..." Lionel's voice trailed off. "It's not my father who's in the wrong here," Annabelle retorted sharply. "He's not your father, understand? Lionel is your real father," Carol interjected, her voice rising enough to draw looks from nearby tables. "I don't expect you to start calling me dad or anything," Lionel added, clearly uncomfortable under the scrutinizing eyes of the public. "That's good," Annabelle responded tersely. Lionel attended a basketball game, seething with jealousy upon seeing Ed there. His frustration only grew when Annabelle joyfully greeted Ed, calling him daddy. "Go get him, Tornado," Ed encouraged with a smile. "Hello, Mr. Carroll," Gracie greeted shyly, her cheeks flushing with a schoolgirl crush, noticed by both Lionel and Grace's mother. Lionel's resentment towards Ed deepened. He found the basketball game uninteresting, watching the players move back and forth, completely engrossed in the action. Ed and Cheryl, meanwhile, cheered loudly from the stands, supporting Grace and Annabelle. Lionel bristled each time the girls acknowledged Ed's cheers. In his mind, Annabelle, his daughter, should be looking to him for approval. He felt unnoticed and unappreciated, despite making the effort to attend the game, which he found dull and noisy. When the game finally ended with the buzzer, Lionel was the first to stand, eager to leave. "So, who's winning?" he inquired, glancing at the woman beside him. "The game's at halftime, Ascension's leading by 12, she replied, her voice carrying a hint of enthusiasm. "Goodness, how much longer will this drag on?" he exclaimed in frustration. "Mind your words, please. There are children around," she retorted sharply. "Oh, forget it," Lionel grumbled, walking away in annoyance. Months later, a divorce notice arrived at Ed's modest one-bedroom apartment. He was the owner of the building, the entire complex, as well as the truck stop, and the maintenance and washing facility out front. Out of 32 units, 9 were rented to his fellow truckers. None of the tenants or employees knew the real identity of Edgar Carroll. To them, he was just another trucker, a nondescript figure who occasionally dined at the truck stop. He was just another individual refueling his truck at the depot. He was a solitary man who spent evenings at the Gearbox, a country western bar popular among truckers. The place was known for its chilled beers and hearty, greasy burgers, served by cheerful young women in distinctive outfits. Overwhelmed by a sense of isolation and fatigue, Ed felt the impact of the stark, formal language of the divorce papers. It was just a few pages stapled together, filled with legal jargon and a judge's signature. He decided to visit the Gearbox to escape his gloom with a cold beer and a greasy cheeseburger, although he had planned to go to Levy's gym to work out some of his frustration. At the bar, he chose a table far from the jukebox, where a friendly waitress with an infectious smile greeted him. "What can I get you?" she asked cheerfully. Ed noted her engaging appearance, her small nose, and her full lips, revealing a slightly crooked smile he guessed might be due to her upbringing. He ordered a draft beer, as cold as possible, and tried to keep his focus on her eyes. Her hair, long and lustrous with hints of blonde, was mostly pulled back, though strands occasionally fell across her face, necessitating a gentle brush away, inadvertently drawing attention to her noticeable figure. Ed observed not just her physical attributes, but the playful charm of her personality, reflected in the small details like the heart-shaped pendant that danced with her movements. "And, what the heck, I'll have the blue cheese bacon burger and a side of those onion rings. No need to impress anyone," Ed said with a grin. Honey, I'd give you a peck," the waitress responded with a playful smile. "If you're sweet to me." "How sweet do I need to be?" Ed chuckled, amused by her playful demeanor. "You know, you're the first to ever ask that," she mused. "Let me think on it." As she walked away, Ed noticed she moved with an easy grace. The worn denim shorts complemented her figure, hinting at her athleticism, much like her toned legs. After delivering his bill, along with the burger, onion rings, and beers, she suggested that a 20% tip would be sufficient. Ed handed her 2 20s, insisting she keep the change. "I was just going to give you a cheeky peck for that," she said. "But for this." She leaned in, giving him a heartfelt hug and a kiss that was more than friendly, leaving a hint of mint in the air. Ed felt a warm flush spread over him. "Lysette, for heaven's sake. I don't care if he's your father or not. We don't need that spectacle here." Jimbo, the portly bartender, shouted amidst the crowd's playful jeers. "Jimbo, really? Do you think I'd behave like that with my dad?" Lysette retorted sharply. "Well, Lysette, what if it had been 100? Ed asked, half joking. "Don't know," she giggled, teasingly. "Hand it over and we'll see." "When do you finish work?" he inquired. She just giggled again and sashayed away, leaving Ed smiling yet bemused as he exited the Gearbox. Returning to his modest apartment, Ed found the legal documents still on the table, dampening his spirits. Carol, too, received her copy, but she nonchalantly tossed them aside, more concerned with her mundane tasks and the upkeep of her luxury car. Then she mused. Post-divorce, Ed's absurd rule about Lionel's overnight stays no longer applied. Post-dinner, having directed Annabelle to her room for homework, Carol dialed Lionel's number. For Lionel, it was a moment of triumph. Spending time with Carol in the home financed by Ed felt like a victory. He was keen on witnessing Annabelle's realization and acceptance of his presence, marking an end to her denial of him as her father. Myrtle Owens, the retired school administrator from across the street, watched the scene unfold with a critical eye. Observing Lionel with his meager belongings, she couldn't help but judge the situation. As Carol greeted him with a forced smile, Myrtle's disapproval was evident in her smirk. Myrtle commented disdainfully to Carol, asserting her own perspective on the matter. Ed, upon receiving a call from Myrtle, could only express his gratitude. The following day, Lionel encountered Annabelle's challenging stare at breakfast. The sudden knock at the door interrupted the morning routine, causing tension between Carol and Lionel. Upon answering the door, Lionel met Teresa White, Ed's lawyer, who delivered the stern directive of the divorce decree, emphasizing the urgency of their departure. Carol's disbelief and dismay were palpable as she confronted the reality of the situation, enforced by the presence of law enforcement officers. Annabelle's outcry against her mother punctuated the chaotic scene. With the police by her side, Teresa captured images of the house's interior, making note of its condition. As time pressed on, the attorney exited the premises with a final reminder of the urgency. "I'm going to make him regret it," Lionel vowed. "And I'll remember to mention that I heard you say that." "Genius," Annabelle retorted. After finishing her breakfast, Annabelle got ready for school, while Carol and Lionel prepared for another day at Cooper Hahn Insurance with less enthusiasm. At work, Carol hinted at the idea of her and Annabelle moving in with Lionel. Well, you see." Lionel stumbled over his words. "Oh my goodness, Lionel, you still live with your mom, don't you?" Carol realized with a mix of amusement and frustration. "Hey, it's free, doesn't cost me anything to stay there," Lionel defended. Rose grudgingly consented for Carol and Annabelle to stay with her, but only for a week. By then, Carol was expected to have found a place of her own. "And, Lionel and I are, seeing each other," Carol cautiously brought up. "And if I see that no good man near my home, I'd send him packing in no uncertain terms," Rose declared sternly. "With what, exactly, Mom?" Carol asked, her laughter tinged with irony. "Your father's shotgun, that's what," Rose replied sharply. Ed was in Little Rock, Arkansas, when his attorney informed him that Carol Cooper had been told she needed to leave her home. He responded with a detached gratitude. "That's what you pay me the big bucks for, right?" Teresa tried to lighten the mood. Tom Mills was next to call Ed, offering his sincere empathy, and reminding him that he had been in Ed's shoes before. "Man, Emily nearly took everything from me, and it felt like she took my heart with her too," Tom shared. "Thanks, Tom," Ed responded. "By the way, I'm thinking of buying Levy's gym." "Oh Lord, think of the liability with that place." "Please, think again. He's still training fighters, isn't he? Maybe consider a safer investment, like a gym with less risk," Tom pleaded. "Chicken," Ed chuckled. "All right, I'm a chicken, just don't go there, okay? Help him out if he's in such a bind," Tom proposed. Levy confessed to Ed that skyrocketing insurance costs were the reason he was strapped for cash. Under his breath, Tom muttered curses about Edgar Carroll, yet he proceeded to draft a policy for the impressively built man. "Wow," Levy beamed. "That's almost $1,000 less than what Cooper Hahn was asking for. But I passed on it." Ed grinned when Tom phoned in frustration. "You goof," Tom chortled. "By the way, Carol's left your place." Teresa White inspected the house interior, nodding in approval. Carol and Lionel hadn't left any significant marks. She glanced into what used to be Annabelle's room. The bed was tidily arranged, but Annabelle's pillows and her collection of plush toys were missing. The closet stood empty. With a soft touch, the attorney shut the door to the young girl's room. The breakfast area's table and chairs were Ed's last mementos of his mother, and thus remained. Carol hadn't encroached upon Ed's private space, which also stayed as it was. 2 new goose-down pillows, mimicking Annabelle's, adorned the bed in her room. Ed kept the door open, hopeful for his daughter's return someday. Through Lenny Rosenberg, Carol's lawyer, Ed expressed that Carol could claim any furniture she desired. "Tell that jerk I don't want anything from him," Carol snapped back. "That mahogany desk, in his private room," Lionel hinted, wishfully thinking. Despite the addition of new furniture, Ed found the house gloomy. He visited Levy's place, where he vented his frustrations on a punching bag. Afterward, he showered, changed into fresh jeans and a pullover, and headed to the gearbox to replenish the energy he had expended. "No way, she's mine," Lysette claimed upon noticing Ed and Tiffany's area. "Oh no, you don't, back off, it's on now, you hear me?" Tiffany countered. "Hey, handsome, why don't you come over here? This spot has a much nicer view," Lysette suggested. "A nicer view of what?" Ed inquired, genuinely confused. In the spot where he had settled, he observed the highlights from over 50 Super Bowls. Lysette led him to a table where one screen broadcasted a hockey match and another showed baseball. "Better view from here, don't you think?" the girl said with a playful grin. "Definitely," agreed Ed, returning the smile. He ordered his favorites, an ice-cold draft beer and a blue cheese bacon burger with onion rings. Lysette was engaging and playful, making sure to keep his attention as she served him. "Here's your check, darling. Expecting a generous tip today," Lysette teased, placing his bill on the table. Ed laid down a 20 to cover his meal and beers, then added a $100 bill. "Keep the change," he told her, caught by her expressive brown eyes. Lysette glanced at the bill, then back at him. "I finish work at 11, she mentioned. "Need a lift?" Ed inquired. "Yes, please," she responded, tucking away the 100. That evening, Tiffany managed to divert customers from Lysette's area twice. Before tensions turned into a full-on brawl, Jimbo intervened, threatening to dismiss them both. "I don't care who's at fault. This stops now," he declared firmly. "There's a line of people ready to take your spot, understood?" Both young women, barely 19, reluctantly nodded. "I'm serious, any more trouble and you're both out," he warned sternly. When Ed arrived in his meticulously restored old truck, Lysette, now wearing a long t-shirt over her denim shorts, gave the vehicle a curious glance. Ed opened the passenger door for her, and she climbed in. "Is this one of those classic pickups?" she asked as Ed got in. "Yes, it is," he confirmed. "Oh," she remarked, clearly not wowed. "So, where are you planning to take me?" "Everything seems closed, and I'm starving," Lysette commented. "How about the Oakleaf truck stop?" suggested Ed. "Do they serve omelets there?" "Well, I'm not sure they have omelets, but..." Ed trailed off. "Let's swing by Burns, unless you've got supplies at your place," Lysette suggested commandingly. Ed pondered for a moment. He hadn't checked his refrigerator or pantry recently and had no clue what was there. Inside Burns and Burns' grocery store, Lysette stayed close to Ed, playfully nudging him as they navigated the aisles with their cart. She flirted openly, making it clear through her actions and frequent kisses that she was quite comfortable with him. "By the way, how old are you?" she queried as they began unloading their cart at the checkout. 41, turning 42 next month, Ed replied with a smile. "And you?" "Well, I'm hitting 20 in 3 months, she revealed, slightly teasing him about the age difference. Lysette may not have shown much interest in his truck initially, but her mood lifted as they drove down Roberts Drive, especially with the festive decorations around. "Oh, look at the Christmas lights here. I love it during Christmas," she exclaimed. Back at the house, Lysette took charge in the kitchen, starting with the bacon and moving on to chopping green onions and tomatoes as the bacon cooked. "Pass me the half and half," she commanded, looking for a mixing bowl. "What's the difference between a big bowl and a mixing bowl?" Ed inquired. "Well, it's just a matter of perspective. One is what a 40-year-old would say, and the other, a 20-year-old, Lysette replied, cracking eggs into the bowl with practiced ease. "Cold, heartless even," Ed chuckled as he finished bringing in the groceries. Over the omelet, which she had split between them, Lysette confessed her dislike for her current job at the Gearbox, though she admitted it was a step up from her previous employment at Valerie's Notions. "The owner, well, she took a particular interest in me, which was the main reason I got the job," Lysette shared. "Valerie's, right. The small card shop over on Pembroke," Ed recalled. After they finished eating, Lysette inquired about the restroom. Ed directed her to the small bathroom in his study. Before closing the door, she pecked him on the cheek playfully. Ed went back to the kitchen, pondering how Carol always messed up the coffee, even forgetting the filter once. But Lysette seemed to have a knack for brewing it just right, he thought, savoring the aroma before adding his creamer. "Daddy, where are you, Daddy?" Lysette's voice echoed playfully. "In here, in the kitchen, Princess," Ed responded. He noticed the click of her heels on the tile, paused briefly when he called her Princess. "Oh, there you are," Lysette exclaimed as she entered the kitchen, her long brown hair now flowing freely down her back. She wore a bright smile, her lips glistening with gloss. She looked relaxed, her attire casual yet flattering, emphasizing her natural curves. "Come closer," Lysette murmured, her voice quivering with residual excitement. "Let's share this moment." Yes," Ed exclaimed, as they both felt a profound connection. Lysette's breath caught as they embraced, their closeness expressing everything words could not. They remained entwined, feeling the echo of their connection. "You're incredible," Lysette whispered as they gradually separated. "And you're absolutely precious," Ed replied warmly, giving her a soft kiss on the forehead. He then stood up and walked to the bathroom, returning with a damp towel. They exchanged gentle kisses as he tenderly cleaned her up. "I wonder what would happen if I spoiled you even more," Ed pondered aloud, placing the towel aside. "I'm not sure," Lysette giggled, her mood shifting to a more serious tone. "Just remember, I'm not just here for the gifts," she stated sincerely. Ed stayed quiet, simply embracing her and planting a gentle kiss on her nose, making her giggle and brush away an imaginary tickle. "Enough," she laughed as he continued his playful affection. They spent the next few moments in a light-hearted exchange, with Ed caressing her affectionately, and Lysette responding with a playful touch, their laughter and tender gestures filling the room. "Now, do you want to get closer?" she teased, lying back and pressing her chest together. Ed felt a surge of excitement at the thought of being so intimately close to her. He positioned himself above her, moving with intensity as they connected more deeply. She made a sound of surprise as Ed explored further, increasing their mutual excitement. They both expressed their intense feelings loudly as Ed's passion reached its peak, leaving evidence of their encounter on her skin. The aftermath was messy, with traces left even in Lysette's hair. Lysette adored the spaciousness of the shower, especially the marble bench. Suddenly, she mentioned needing to use the bathroom, and while cleaning her hair, she didn't hesitate to relieve herself, unabashed. Ed couldn't help but react strongly to her boldness. Their passion reignited, with Lysette against the shower wall and Ed joining her intensely. He was captivated by her, reaching to heighten her pleasure. Lysette expressed her ecstasy loudly, overwhelmed by the intensity. Afterward, as they dried off, Ed hesitantly asked if she planned to stay the night. "Are you trying to send me away?" Lysette inquired, her expression hard to read. "No, I actually like the thought of waking up together," Ed admitted, his heart racing at her smile and the touch of her kiss, reigniting his desire. She asked for one of his t-shirts, a preference over anything left by his ex-wife. He found one, and as they shared another kiss, Lysette's warm skin against his made her feel close and cherished. "No, it's like feeling your embrace," she murmured softly. "Besides, why would I want to wear some old skank stuff?" she asked as she slipped the large t-shirt over her head. Before climbing into bed, she kneeled down and silently prayed, a moment Ed captured with a quick photo on his phone. In the morning, Lysette made pancakes and sunny-side-up eggs for breakfast. Where'd you learn? I mean, I've never experienced something like that before," Ed said, finishing his pancake. "Where did you learn to do that?" "My dad," Lysette replied calmly. "He always said I was well endowed for a reason." She lightly pressed her arms against her chest, the neckline of Ed's shirt revealing much of her cleavage, and smiled at him. "You want to go again?" she teased. "So, when do you start work today?" Ed asked, trying to change the subject. The idea of her father teaching her anything of that nature made him uneasy, and her nonchalant attitude did little to assuage his discomfort. "Gearbox, at 4. I think I'm working with Sam tonight," Lysette said. She then told Ed about her co-workers, Tiffany, who was always difficult, Rachel, who was not the brightest but sweet, Sam, whom she suspected of being a closeted lesbian, Vicky, who was openly lesbian, and Sabrina, who was known to be very promiscuous. "That $100, she would have done anything on the spot," Lysette declared. I wonder when she's working next." Ed mused. "No way," Lysette exclaimed. "Daddy, don't even think about it." She pouted and playfully emphasized her chest. "Don't you like me?" she asked with a hint of seduction. "Like you? I think you're great," Ed said, finishing his coffee. "And you make fantastic coffee. So, what's your plan for today?" Lysette asked as they finished their breakfast. "I'm heading out to pick up the truck. The whole transmission needed work," Ed explained. "After that, I've got to check my schedule. I think there's a trip to New Orleans on the cards for tomorrow." "How long will you be gone?" Lysette inquired, her interest piqued. "The whole trip should be around 3 or 4 days," Ed replied. "I'll be going from New Orleans to Memphis, then Atlanta, and back here." Lysette busied herself with cleaning the stove and counters, finally hanging the dish towel to dry. "Can I join you on the trip?" she asked, peering out of the kitchen window. "What about your job at Gearbox?" Ed questioned, hoping there was more coffee left. "Spending 6-7 hours on my feet to earn barely $50. Lysette retorted. "I'm done with Gearbox." She leaned on the counter, exasperated. "Plus, Jimbo's always saying he can replace me easily. They won't even miss me," she added. "So, you finish work at 11 tonight?" Ed asked, placing his cup in the dishwasher. "Yeah, can you pick me up?" Lysette suggested, embracing him. They shared a long kiss. Playfully, Ed lifted her in his arms and carried her to the bedroom. Their intimacy was passionate and urgent at first, their connection deep and satisfying. After a while, they shared a more tender moment, exploring their feelings for each other. Following a refreshing shower together, Lysette dressed casually in one of Ed's t-shirts and her shorts, slipping into her shoes. "Do we need to let anyone know you're coming with me?" Ed wondered, apprehensive about potentially meeting Lysette's father, whom he imagined unfavorably. "No, just my roommate Michelle, but she won't mind. The rent's paid, and we don't have any bills due yet," Lysette assured him. She eyed the Mercedes-Benz with a nod of approval. "Why did you pick me up in that old truck when you have this?" she queried, gesturing at his more modest vehicle. Ed just grinned. "Yes, I wanted to see if you liked me for more than my wallet," he suggested. "I've already told you, I'm not after your money," Lysette retorted with a hint of annoyance. "Now I believe it," Ed replied. After driving her to her apartment, their journey was filled with moments of intense affection. She exited the car, not before ensuring Ed would be there to fetch her after work. As he drove off, Ed made a call to Tom Mills. "We own the Oxbow Plaza, right? The one off Pembroke?" "Yes, though we're considering selling it." "What's up?" Tom responded. "The place is neglected, with overgrown grass and dilapidated structures, not to mention abandoned vehicles," Ed reported. "Paul thinks it's manageable," Tom responded with a hint of resignation. "And the convenience store next door, what about that?" Ed continued, frustration evident in his tone. "Yes, what about it?" Tom asked cautiously. "There are loiterers around, and the staff seems disengaged," Ed pointed out sternly. "Tom, this is unacceptable." "I'll address it," Tom assured him. Tom, he may be family, but this is business, Ed pressed on. Later, Ed arrived in his Mercedes-Benz to pick up Lysette from work. She hurried to the car, placing a gym bag by her feet. Hi, Princess, Ed greeted warmly. Hey there, Lysette beamed, excitedly sharing. I finally told my boss I'm leaving. Backing out. I thought you were, Princess, taking just a short break, right? Ed stuttered, confusion written all over his face. No, Daddy, Lysette responded, gently touching Ed's arm. I'm going to be with you on every trip from now on. Really? Ed murmured, puzzled. Nan, what's the time? Lysette groaned as Ed roused her at 3:30 in the morning. It's pretty early, Ed said with a grin, but we'll be late if we don't get moving. He lifted her with ease, thanks to his strong arms. She grinned and gave him a peck on the cheek before he set her down. You know, Lysette, you can catch some more sleep in the truck, he suggested kindly. No, you're driving, I should stay awake, she said, still half asleep, as she slipped on her sneakers. And why's that? Ed asked, amused, watching her get ready. It's my duty, she declared, to make sure you stay alert. All right, he acknowledged with a shrug. I've been managing just fine on my own, he muttered under his breath, checking he had everything for the journey. By 5:18, they were driving east on I-10. Suddenly, Ed tensed and cursed under his breath. Lysette, alarmed, scanned their surroundings. Oh no, Ed cursed again, then turned on his CB radio. Daddy, what's happening? Lysette inquired anxiously. Ed switched to the emergency channel. This is Oakleaf Smile calling, he announced urgently into the radio. Go ahead, Oakleaf Smile, do you have a situation? A voice crackled back. Ed explained there was a car without taillights ahead, another car beside it, and a pickup truck following them closely. He gave their location and warned the officer that if they attempted a rapid interception, he wouldn't stop. Confirmed, the voice came through with a static crackle. Shortly after, the Delta 88 surged forward, cutting off the dilapidated Cutlass Supreme. Lysette shrieked as Ed's truck collided with the Cutlass's rear, propelling it into a chaotic spin across the highway lanes. The aftermath brought 3 police cars, their sirens blaring and lights pulsing. Ed exhaled a sigh of relief, guiding his truck to the roadside. Post-accident formalities completed, Ed expressed his gratitude to the officers for their swift action. Then, he and Lysette resumed their journey. What just happened? Lysette murmured, visibly disturbed by the ordeal. Ed explained the rise of swoop and SWAT incidents, where a car cuts you off, another brakes abruptly in front, causing a collision. The culprits then claim for injuries to exploit insurance. He mentioned a new, more dangerous variation involving hijacking. Unbelievable, Lysette gasped, her eyes widening. Ed confided that his truck held something invaluable, dismissing the cargo's importance. Realizing the gravity of their situation, he had braced for the inevitable confrontation. Lysette inquired about the truck's precious cargo. You, Ed replied, emphasizing her importance over any material load. As they arrived in New Orleans, Lysette was asleep, missing the city's initial view. Ed gently awakened her, and despite her expectations, New Orleans appeared as just another rundown city. However, their enjoyment of a local shrimp po' boy and Barks root beer added a touch of charm to their perception. Ed's loud burp led to a playful exchange with Lysette insisting on manners, to which Ed sheepishly conceded. No, you should say excuse me, while I might say Ed clarified. Did you call yourself the Oakleaf Smile on the radio? Lysette inquired as Ed maneuvered the tractor, without its trailer, to a depot in New Orleans' Central Business District. Oakleaf Smile, Ed confirmed. Back when I started driving, I had braces. A girl at the orthodontist's office told me my smile would be the best in Oakleaf. So, I took on the name Oakleaf Smile. By the time they reached Atlanta, Lysette had adopted the nickname Oakleaf Princess. She was still learning the truckers' jargon, often turning to Ed for explanations, yet she thoroughly enjoyed talking with the other truckers. So, when do we head out again? Lysette inquired as Ed parked at the Oakleaf depot. In a couple of days, Ed replied with a smile. And what age do you need to be to drive one of these? She asked as they walked towards Ed's Mercedes-Benz. 21, Ed answered. I'll get my license when I'm 21, so I can share the driving. Okay, Dad, proposed Lysette. He didn't question her about her destination preferences. He just drove to 1812 Roberts Drive. Once in the bedroom, Lysette changed into the t-shirt she had worn earlier and got into bed. You've taken my side of the bed, Ed noted. I know, she giggled, snuggling into him. He embraced her, and they both drifted off to sleep. When he awoke later, he felt a numbness in his arm but was comforted by her presence. Love you, Dad, Lysette murmured as Ed shifted to ease his arm. Love you too, Princess, he responded, then got up to freshen up. Returning to bed, Lysette suggested getting up to prepare something to eat. No need, I've been craving something from Stone Grill, Ed responded. Ever tried their steaks? Totally over this place, Lysette remarked with a hint of sarcasm. If you give me any backtalk, you'll find yourself in a timeout, Ed teased her. Oh no, Lysette exclaimed in frustration. What's up? Ed inquired. Just feeling a bit flustered, she confessed. After their shower, where the steam seemed to merge with their playful banter, Ed chose a button-down shirt and khakis, while Lysette worked on her hair. He then drove her home to pick out an outfit. At her apartment, Lysette faced her roommate Michelle's outrage over their high electric bill and the overdue cable payment, demanding Lysette's share. Ed and Lysette stayed out of each other's way during the domestic squabble. Soon after, Lysette appeared in the living room, twirling in a sleeveless pink dress that ended at her thighs, showcasing her elegant legs and the dress's snug fit. She playfully revealed the dress's design, which left her silhouette uninterrupted. "How easily can you end your lease with her?" Ed asked, his tone tinged with annoyance. "It's month to month, so no issue there," Lysette replied. "Great, because you're moving in with me," Ed declared. "Really?" Lysette leaned closer, teasing. "And why's that?" "Huh, because it's time you did," Ed firmly stated. At the entrance of the fancy restaurant, Ed greeted Lionel and Carol, who were visibly agitated, while the maitre d' showed helplessness due to the busy scene. "Jim, good to see you. We have a reservation under Carol," Ed announced. "Of course, Mr. Carroll, right this way," Jim responded. Ed casually greeted the irritated couple as they passed. "Linus, Carol, how's everything?" "It's Lionel," Lionel corrected, annoyed. "Oh, relax, he knows," Carol retorted. In the restaurant, Lysette realized her menu had no prices, a sign that she was expected not to worry about the cost of their meal. Ed hadn't mentioned any restrictions on what to order, so she went ahead and chose a ribeye, medium rare, with asparagus and a loaded baked potato. "That sounds great," Ed said. "I'll have the same." "See that blonde lady in the lobby? The attractive one?" Lysette inquired, tasting the fine wine. "My ex-wife." Ed raised an eyebrow. "Ah, that explains the dirty looks from her," Lysette noted. "Perhaps, but it doesn't matter," Ed replied with a smile. The waiter arrived, presenting their meals. "Please enjoy your steaks and let me know if everything is to your liking." Lysette savored the flavorful meat with a pleased murmur. Ed quipped, "She means to say it's decent, I think." The waiter looked to Ed for his verdict. "It's good, I suppose," Ed responded nonchalantly. "Pleased to hear it, Mr. Carroll," the waiter said with a smirk, then departed. "This is absolutely fantastic," Lysette exclaimed, enjoying another bite. "That's what's special about this place," Ed commented. "They really know how to age their beef." "I've always heard about that but never really knew what it meant," Lysette reflected. As the waiter listed the desserts, Ed noticed Lysette's excitement at the chocolate decadence cake. "It seems she'll go for the chocolate cake." "I'll take the chocolate mint pie and a coffee," Ed decided. "And for you, ma'am, any coffee?" the waiter inquired. "Your ex-wife, she can't stop staring," Lysette whispered. Seeing Ed with someone else must have irritated Carol, and the sight of Lysette feeding Ed cake, then trying some of his pie, seemed to infuriate her further. "But remember, you're here with me," Lionel said with a smug smile. "Uh-huh, and he's using a high-end credit card while you're stuck with a basic one," Carol felt like snapping. "Daddy, I can't eat another bite," Carol overheard the young woman complain. Ed drove them back to the apartment so Lysette could pack her belongings and inform Michelle that she was leaving. Ed stopped at Burns & Burns to pick up some cardboard boxes from the back. "Hey, that girl Sam. She mentioned you left your job, right?" Michelle asked Lysette with a sharp tone as she entered the apartment. "Uh-huh," Lysette replied. "Unbelievable. How will you cover the rent now?" Michelle yelled. "She won't be," Ed interjected firmly. "She's moving out." "No way she is. She still owes me?" Michelle looked angrily at him. "How much?" Ed asked sternly. "Somewhere around $200 or $300, Michelle quickly answered. "Here," Ed responded, handing over 3 neat $100 bills to Michelle. Ed and Lysette then made their way to Los Angeles, California. During the trip, Lysette got to see the less glamorous side of the city, the urban decay not shown on TV, as they were stuck in traffic. The public housing seemed endless, mirroring the endless traffic. Once they finished their business, Ed took Lysette along the coast, showing her the picturesque Los Angeles popularized in media. Over 5 hours on that highway, Lysette questioned, her attention caught by some athletic surfers. "I'd rather head back to Texas, Daddy." "Uh-huh, biting them doesn't make it any better," Ed joked. "It's driving me nuts," Lysette confessed, touching her bulky braces with her tongue again. "I understand, had them too," Ed sympathized and then answered his ringing phone. "Tom, what's the situation?" "We're headed to Los Angeles," Ed declared. "A tornado just tore through Oakleaf a few hours back," Tom mentioned. "Is Annabelle safe?" Ed quickly inquired, concern lacing his voice. "What?" Lysette, suddenly alert, questioned. "The school's untouched, it's all good," Tom reassured Ed. "Our place is fine, too. And yeah, I'm okay, appreciate the concern. If something was wrong with you, you'd have led with that," Ed retorted. "So, what's the damage?" "The warehouse took a hit, complete right off. The diner's wrecked too, needs rebuilding. And that building over on Pembroke," Tom listed. "The Oxbow Plaza," Ed questioned. "Completely destroyed, rescue's ongoing," Tom replied. "Weren't you seeing someone there?" "Used to, but she's with me now," Ed mentioned. "Anyone hurt?" What's happening?" Lysette interjected. "They're still assessing the damage," Tom said. "Looks like the pack engo's gone as well. Time to call the insurance, then," Ed noted. "Oh, wait, that'd be you." "Yeah, I'll compile the details for you," Tom responded. "I'm coming back tomorrow and we'll stop by the office," Ed planned. "What in the world happened?" Lysette pressed. "A tornado hit Oakleaf hard," Ed explained. Oh no, Michelle, Lysette gasped, reaching for her phone. Careful, princess, there's a risk of a gas leak. Best not to use the phone right now, Ed warned. I know it's hard, but we need to be cautious. As they merged back onto the interstate, Lysette's anxiety was palpable. Hello, sweetheart, how are you? Ed's tone softened as he picked up Annabelle's call. Daddy, Grandma's place, her trailer, it's not there anymore, Annabelle cried into the phone. But Rose, is she okay? Ed asked urgently. Yes, thankfully, she was shopping when the storm hit, Annabelle replied, her voice trembling. But Daddy, her home. Where are you now? Inquired Ed. At Mama's office, Annabelle answered. Mama suggested. Don't worry, I'll have Miss Teresa bring you a key to our house, Ed interjected. You and Grandma can stay there. I need to speak to Ed, hand over the phone, they heard Carol demanding in the background. Ed ended the call with a sigh, just as Carol began to speak. Teresa White expressed her gratitude to Ed for his concern. The office was intact. She agreed to deliver the key for 1812 Roberts Drive to Rose Cooper. What about Mrs. Carol Cooper? Teresa inquired. Let her stay with Lionel if she wants, Ed responded indifferently. I'll pass the message, Teresa replied, a hint of amusement in her voice. Playing with them won't speed things up, Ed remarked. Leave me alone, Lysette retorted, fussing with her braces. Ed continued driving through the night, the early light revealing the extent of the tornado's damage. At the office, Ed and Tom reviewed the damage to Ed's properties. Tom couldn't help but notice Lysette, who was dressed casually in shorts and a loose shirt. She's of age, right? Tom whispered to Ed. 19 and a half, Ed responded playfully. I turned 20, remember. These braces were my birthday gift, Lysette interjected. Apologies, I meant 20 and a half years old, Ed clarified. Now, is there anything from the pack and go that can be used? Let's donate it to the cleanup teams. And the diner, anything usable there. It should go to the shelters. I took care of that yesterday, Tom replied with a smile. Knew you'd suggest it. What about our staff? They're still on the payroll, Ed mentioned. Already informed them, Tom nodded. Also, Tom, give yourself a little raise, will you? Ed joked. Not a nickel more an hour, just a nickel total. Lysette couldn't help but laugh, and Ed shared a smile with her. We have a team coming from Lowridge to work on the depot tomorrow, Tom updated. We've got 37 trucks idle at the moment. Then let's offer them to assist in the cleanup efforts, Ed suggested. Already proposed that, but the mayor declined, Tom responded. That's just ridiculous, Ed grumbled. I swear, something was off with her election win. Because she's a woman, Lysette asked pointedly. No, because she's a socialist, Ed corrected. Her gender is irrelevant to me. Feeling drained, Ed left Tom's office and headed home. His spirits lifted upon seeing Rose's familiar Oldsmobile in the driveway. Daddy, Annabelle yelled, running to greet Ed as he entered through the garage. Hey, sweetheart, why aren't you at school? Ed asked, embracing his daughter. It's Saturday, Dad, Annabelle reminded him. Hi Ed, greeted Rose. Hello, said Lysette softly. Annabelle, honey, this is Lysette. She's my girlfriend, Ed introduced. Hi, Annabelle greeted Lysette, a bit bashfully. Rose, I really feel bad about what happened to your trailer, Ed expressed. Oh, it's fine, Rose said nonchalantly. Thankfully, I'm covered by Oakleaf. Oakleaf, not Cooper Hahn, Ed queried. Absolutely, Rose replied sharply. Do I look like I don't know what I'm doing? Let's keep appearances out of this, okay? Ed joked. Always the joker, Rose grinned. I'm Rose. My daughter foolishly let this impressive man go. Hi, I'm Lysette. Lysette introduced herself again. So, you do the same work as Ed? Rose inquired. Something like that, Lysette responded with a smile. I'm known as Daddy's sweetie pie, Annabelle chimed in. And I'm the Oakleaf princess, Lysette added. Carol insisted I contact her the moment you arrived, Rose informed Ed. Rose, come on, I've been driving for 30 hours, Ed complained. Can I get 3 hours to rest? Understood, Rose conceded. I wouldn't upset the one who supports me. Ed felt like he had just fallen asleep when he was awakened by Lysette's kiss. He moaned, realizing it was over 3 hours later. They showered together, though they kept it platonic this time. After dressing, Ed left the room and heard Carol's voice echoing in the house. Well, Carol, it's your own fault for choosing that deceitful person. Rose was scolding her daughter as Ed entered the living room. Ed, I really need. Carol began. Carol, your problems aren't my concern, Ed interrupted. Is there any coffee? I'll make some, Annabelle offered, hurrying to the kitchen. Ed, please, it's important. Carol attempted again. Really, Carol, what do you need? What do you want? It's not my concern, Ed remarked. Hey there, Lysette greeted cheerfully, bouncing into the room. Rose and Ed struggled to suppress their giggles. Lysette had rediscovered her old Ferguson High School cheerleading outfit and decided to wear it. She styled her hair in 2 side ponytails and her smile was broad, displaying her shiny braces. Hello again, she beamed. Oh, you must be Mrs. Carol. Hi, I'm Lysette. Carol looked at the young woman. Annabelle entered the room, caught sight of Lysette, and started laughing. Lysette turned and gave a friendly smile to her. Dad, the coffee's ready, Annabelle chuckled. Do they have juice? Lysette asked with a slight lisp. Yes, they do, Annabelle replied. Annabelle, dear, is this one of your friends? Carol inquired. No, this is Dad's girlfriend, Annabelle clarified. Ed, Lionel, can we find a place to talk, just the adults? Carol asked, eyeing the young woman clinging to Ed's arm. Here is good, Ed declared, settling on the sofa. Lysette joined him, tucking her feet beneath her. Lysette, Carol began. It's Lysette, she corrected. That's what I said, Carol retorted. Lysette, Ed interjected. Anyway, perhaps you should leave us. The adults need to have a conversation, Carol said briskly. I am an adult, Lysette claimed with a smile. Ed even lets me have a sip of his beer sometimes, right Ed? Come on, enough of that, Ed chuckled. You're teasing too much. But it's fun, Lysette said with a smile. Fed up with trucking. You could be a star, Rose said in admiration. You're a truck driver, Carol asked, astonished. Affirmative, you're speaking to the Oakleaf Princess, Lysette responded. Light roast, right, Annabelle chimed in. Let's go with a lighter blend, Lysette agreed. Annabelle carefully brought the cup to the living room. Ed cautiously tasted it and smiled. It was terrible. Annabelle probably used 3 times the coffee grounds needed. Yet, he drank the coffee and smiled warmly at his little girl. Nearly as delightful as yours, Lysette, Ed praised. Ed, I need to tell you about Lionel, Carol started, hesitatingly. Annabelle, honey, maybe you and Grandma should. Let's not avoid the topic, Rose interjected. What has that fool done now? Tears of frustration welled up in Carol's eyes. She clenched her teeth and looked sternly at Ed. Lionel took off with all our funds, Carol disclosed. Which funds are you talking about? Our savings, both Cooper Hahn's and mine. He drained all our accounts, savings, the emergency fund, everything, Carol confessed. Cooper and that calamity, Ed muttered. How are you going to handle all those settlements? Forget the settlements. How am I supposed to manage our expenses? Our expenses are trivial, Carol, Ed retorted. We have clients who lost everything. Their insurer needs to compensate them. Are you hearing me? He left us with nothing. Who was backing you? Lysette asked. We didn't have an underwriter, Carol confessed. Oh boy, that's a tough spot, Ed said with a hint of sarcasm. Ed, could you perhaps, Carol hesitated, allow Rose and Annabelle to stay here for a bit? Of course, Ed replied promptly. I even considered taking Annabelle in after our split. Really? Annabelle interjected. You claimed he didn't want me. Annabelle, he's not your dad, Carol interjected sharply. No, my real dad's off squandering our wealth, Annabelle retorted. But my true dad, he's right here. Ed, darling, Carol attempted to soften her tone. Hold on, Lysette cut in, you don't have the right to call him darling. Ed, I'm in a bind, could you lend me some funds? Carol tried once more. Lend, as in repay, Ed quipped. And how will you manage that, given Lionel took over your business? No. But what should I do? Carol lamented. Not sure, and frankly, not my concern, Ed dismissed. Was Casa Old affected by the storm? The one near my place. Yes, it's destroyed, Rose confirmed. That's a shame, their enchiladas were top-notch, Ed commented. But no, we can't consider Gearbox, Annabelle isn't of age. Ed, darling, I really need. Carol persisted. Therein lies the issue, Ed remarked. It was always about Carol's wants and needs. But now, Ed needs a bite to eat. Wait, I'll check if Bully Burgers is open. Annabelle offered excitedly. She quickly found her phone, looked up the number, and made the call. Are you guys open? You are. Fantastic. Annabelle exclaimed. Looks like it's Bully's for us, Ed grinned. Ah, just what I need post-stroke, a bit of indulgence, Rose joked. It seems your car will just about accommodate us all, Rose, Ed noted. I'm not going to Bully's for this, Lysette said with a smile as she stood up. Were you really a cheerleader? Annabelle asked while they walked out. Yes, and the year I led the team, Miriam of Ferguson High School won the state championship, Lysette boasted. Bully Burgers was a modest, long-standing burger place, in business for 53 years at the same spot. It was known for its ancient cast-iron grill. The building, layered with years of grease, was a fire hazard waiting to happen. I'm thinking of getting. Annabelle began. The cannonball, with pineapple. Ed interjected. Is it good? Yes, it's fantastic, Annabelle replied eagerly. The cannonball comes with a half-pound beef patty, 4 slices of Applewood smoked bacon, 2 slices of pepper jack cheese, and grilled jalapenos. Lysette read from the menu. Oh, I'd like one too, please. With pineapple, Ed confirmed. Absolutely, Lysette responded. What do older adults usually eat? Rose pondered. I'm not sure, let's find someone to ask, Ed suggested. I'm going for the blue bully and their onion strings. I think I'll try the blue cheese one as well, Rose decided. Lysette and Annabelle enjoyed their meal, especially after snagging Ed's unwanted pickles. Rose, on the other hand, critiqued the meal's unhealthiness even as she finished her burger and fries. So, Carol, did you hear back from the police? Ed inquired, noticing Carol's distracted eating of a ranch bully burger. About what? Carol looked up. You know, about Lionel disappearing with the money. Ed prodded. Oh, that. I haven't really followed up, Carol admitted, faltering. You've got to be joking, Ed exhaled with a sigh. Carol was in tears, sharing her story with the Oakleaf County detective. The detective, experienced and composed, didn't scold Carol but gently advised her against sharing financial access with anyone, closeness notwithstanding. People spend years together, thinking they understand each other, only to discover betrayal and deceit, Detective Eichenbach remarked. Sounds like you're familiar with deceit and betrayal, right, Carol? Ed remarked with a forced smile. Exactly, dear, Rose chimed in. Grandma. Annabelle burst into laughter. What's your nickname? Call me Foolish Mother, or Daddy's Darling, I suppose. Rose played along. Detective steered the conversation back to the urgent matter, emphasizing the need to help the tornado survivors. With over 15 people still unaccounted for. I'm exhausted, I'm off to sleep, declared Ed. And Rose, no skating inside the house, okay. You're such a comedian, Rose responded with a smirk. Ed, I have nowhere to go, Carol hesitated. That's unfortunate, Ed dryly noted. But Dad, there are 4 spare rooms here, Lysette interjected softly. Carol, let's keep the house quiet, no loud disturbances, Ed said as he bid goodnight. Good night, Lysette echoed, following Ed. Hey, where do you think you're heading? Carol demanded as Annabelle hurried by. Off to Gracie's to play some basketball, Annabelle replied. Did I say you could? Carol began to object, but Annabelle was already out the door. Rose smirked, turning on the television and increasing the volume. Puzzled why everyone preferred it barely audible. Oh, I thought I mentioned no rollerblading or loud music in the house, Ed grumbled. Poor woman can't hear, Lysette whispered, nestling closer to him. Shortly after, she shifted her position, resting her head against his chest. Your wife is quite attractive, she mentioned softly. Ex-wife, Ed corrected. Do you ever miss her? With you here? No, Princess, I don't miss her, Ed reassured, holding Lysette tighter. What if she wanted you back? Lysette pondered. I'd have to say it's too late. I'm with the woman of my dreams now, Ed declared, giving Lysette a gentle hug. And if I weren't here? Lysette probed. Are you trying to cause trouble? Is that it? Ed teased. Am I being naughty? Ed playfully tapped Lysette, pretending to scold her. They shared a moment of teasing and playful banter. Careful, go gently, Lysette said, as they continued their playful exchange. Guide me, Ed responded, maintaining their lighthearted interaction. Oops, Lysette uttered, pretending to be caught up in their game. The narrative then shifts abruptly to a serious note, mentioning the aftermath of a tornado. By Monday morning, it was reported that 23 people had died, with 9 still missing. Among the lost was Michelle Lopez, Lysette's former roommate. Lysette grieved for Michelle, realizing she could have been in the same tragic situation if not for Edgar Carroll. Later in the week, Detective Eichenbach informed Carol that Lionel Hahn was found at his mother's house, despite her claims of ignorance. He was discovered hiding in her bedroom closet, adding a slightly humorous twist to the situation. Great, Ed exclaimed as Rose informed him that Lionel Hahn had been found by the police. Carol, planning to move in with him. He's been arrested, Ed, Carol retorted sharply. Really, moving in with him? Ed prodded again. Lysette and Annabelle couldn't help but chuckle, earning them stern glares from Carol. Tom mentioned I might get a check by next week. All right, any plans for that money? Don't you want to reclaim your house? Not particularly, Ed admitted. I have my 3 darlings here. Why would I need my old place? Oh, and Carol's here too. We could consider the trailer for her, Rose hinted. That would mean Annabelle has to move out, Ed noted. No, let's keep things as they are, okay. Lysette and I have to head out, need to pick up some lumber in Washington, Lysette announced. Teasing them won't speed things up. Oh, be quiet, exclaimed both Annabelle and Lysette. The following morning, Ed was cautiously maneuvering the trailer. He was transporting airplane parts and was careful to prevent any shift in the load. This is Daddy's Sweetie Pie, blared from the CB radio. Oakleaf Princess, are you listening? Oakleaf Princess here, Daddy's Sweetie Pie. Go ahead, Lysette responded with a laugh. Focus on your studies, Ed commanded sternly. How delightful, Carol muttered as Annabelle engaged in lively chatter over the radio in Ed's office. My former husband has become too close to my daughter's best friend. Ex-husband, Rose corrected with a smirk. You willingly left him for someone less worthy. Quite the exchange. Final update. Oakleaf underwent rapid reconstruction. Local leaders pledged revolutionary laws to fortify Oakleaf County against tornadoes. Yet no real change ensued. The commitments were mere political lip service. Drafting laws to counteract tornadoes with winds surpassing 100 miles per hour, ripping trailers from their anchors, is a futile endeavor. No legislative measure can stop a tornado from propelling debris and endangering the community. Lionel Hahn was mandated to compensate Carol Cooper, while Cooper Hahn Insurance was directed to settle claims from their clients. Ed consented to lend Carol $2.6 million at a 9% interest rate. Ed, how can you afford to lend that amount? Carol inquired, puzzled. Lysette couldn't hold back her laughter. Ed offered a smile to the charming brunette. Why are you laughing, Lysette? Carol asked irritably. Lend. Dad has more than that just in his pocket, Lysette chuckled. He's the wealthiest individual in Oakleaf County, believe it or not. He's what? Just a trucker, isn't he? Carol retorted. Oh my, seriously? You thought he was just a trucker? Lysette exclaimed. Carol, he owns the entire fleet, the depot, and even the diner. Let's leave it at that, Princess, Ed interjected with a smile. He owns what? Carol gasped, astonished. Really, Carol, you've been with him for what, 15 years? And you didn't figure this out? Lysette laughed. Ed simply shrugged, and Lysette walked off, still chuckling. And for the collateral, Annabelle whispered to Grace, giggling, I got to stay here. Teasing them won't make them faster, Grace joked as Annabelle playfully stuck out her tongue at her braces. Stop it. Dad says the same, Annabelle exclaimed, picking up her basketball. Looks like the rain stopped, let's go. Rose tampered with her new hearing aid, realizing begrudgingly that Ed had been correct. She had been oblivious to much around her, Annabelle's joyful noise, the sound of birds, and the light-hearted exchanges between Ed and Lysette. As the tornado whisked past Burns and Burns' grocery store, Rose barely registered the warning sirens. The twister, they said, roared like a locomotive next to the store. She caught only a soft murmur of it. Unfortunately, I can still hear your constant nagging, Rose snapped at Carol. Besides that debt you know you can't settle, what's he really costing you? Nothing, Carol reluctantly admitted. Exactly, nothing. You stay in his house, eat his food, enjoy his hot water, without paying a dime. So, stop your complaining, Rose retorted, turning on the TV. Be quiet, my favorite show is about to start. My Lexus, Carol exclaimed. What about your Lexus? Rose inquired. That very first Lexus. If Ed had that kind of money, he could have just gifted it to me, Carol grumbled. Did you even ask him for one? Rose probed. No, but, Carol tried to argue. No, you secretly got it yourself, Rose interjected. What about Annabelle's needs? Or Ed's? You only thought about getting that Lexus for yourself. I took care of Ed's needs well enough, Carol defended. Sure, and look how quickly Ed found someone who prioritizes his needs over hers, Rose pointed out. And what did you get in return? Enough of this talk, my show is on. My comment, what do you think of this ending? She just immersed herself in the drama and then lit the matches all by herself. Is this what you expected from the ending? Comment down below, sub and bell, and we shall keep learning from these relationships.